want to take us a little bit back in time. They said Paul had brought a lot of people through the initiations very fast to establish what he was doing. So we realized that the Numan too is struggling to establish the Nupresentation here. Had to start from scratch. Started in the wilderness, as you rightly said. No structure to inherit. No audience. But bit by bit, the audience has there's an audience to listen to you and to share with you, to help share the message. And I want to think that there's an urgency to see the Nupresentation established in this world in view of the demise that we find in every aspect of life here. And so I want to think that the new man wants to work with people who are receptive, who are aware to an extent. Then he wants to maybe bring a lot of people very fast up to establish what he's doing. In this world, well, we know that the age of initiations is over, but the initiations of the initiations that Paul gave were a kind of benefit, because they help to amp people's awareness in order to work with him and establish what he was doing here, to concretize his mission here. I want to ask whether the new man has a modus operandi which is unseen and unknown, that helps to bestow some on new adherents, some rapid awareness, so that they work with him to establish his mission here. We're not going to talk of initiations, but awareness here. So what is the new man's modus operandi to help this awareness that we need faster? It may be slower, people may not be seeing it, but I think we have some help that is unknown, unseen. So can the new man comment on this?
Yes, it's very good, Charles. Yes, you asked the best questions, and it's very good because we are recording this, and I will just use some of the wonderful people that are already here as examples. Again, here's Sam, here's Chris, here's Kelsey, here's Claudie, here's George, here's others, etc. That, here's Vesna, that's been through so much. And so let's use the initiation idea according to the corporation today, all right, and in Paul's time. I'll go over this rather quickly here. In other words, yes, in Paul's time, the initiations, the idea of the initiation, we'll say, was real because of Paul's intent and his real connection with the all is. It was real at that time. And so as things moved along, things are accordingly to the intent and the awareness of the individual. So what we have today is we have the computer popping out the initiations. Do you think Joni has the awareness to see who is aware or not, or the spiritual idea? Do you think Joni does? Let's look at Joni here. I would say no. Okay? Absolutely not. And Harry, what's he doing? What does he do all the time? Play video games? Is he writing all the time? This, when he's out there for about an hour and a half, I mean, it takes him like 6 months to write that little thing that he writes when actually Joni writes it. I mean, is that what he does all the time? He's really focusing and concentrating on that. So again, the initiations in the corporation as an example, or initiations anywhere, from anywhere. You look at history and the different types of ideas and initiations. And I remember when I was in high school, if you wanted to belong to this club, it was called the High Y. You had to be initiated, and you just went through a bunch of nonsense. Okay, I never joined because it was just, these were the cool dudes. I wasn't interested. I started surfing, and you know what? It's like I don't need this. But anyhow, these are the different ideas that people have. Now you compare it to the Nupresentation. This becomes the fun part, and that is that those individuals that catch on to this, that do recognize it, they far exceed anything considered. You don't have to wait years to get initiations and go through the different levels to get to the real universes. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is wake up and recognize it, and you have a direct connection instantly, you see? While all the little members, basically all they can do is recite what Harry says. And some of them do have real side experiences with the boys. The boys will choose certain ones, but for the most part, they don't. That's why they don't relate to any of that. We do, because they step right into it. There's, as an example, Dina, who's not here. She's got a lot to deal with in the Philippines. Several years ago, she was introduced to this. And basically, almost like the second time she did the new you, she left her body. She went to the real universes. She saw me and all the real guides just welcome her in because of her heart. She was into religion her whole life. She's very dedicated to religion. Very humble, honorable, sweet lady. And because of her heart and her intent, and she was afraid at first. And so it took a couple times. And I understand. It's scary because you don't know what's going to happen. But she went right in there, right away. The experience is recorded. I would say I don't see her making it up, but again, anybody can. Claudie here, when she first came into this, and she wrote me, and I called her, and she did the new you or whatever, meeting on the real side, Zumo. She went from one point to another. There's no waiting here. What we have now supersedes everything. This is why they can't see it. They're just old stick in the muds, is what they are. They're waiting for their next initiation. And just like when Ava came, look at Ava in the last 3 years. Look at Kelsey and Chris, etc., and all these individuals. Are they waiting for their next whatever? No. No. See, again, haven't set up any of that begging process. And really, what it is that, and I remember when I was in the corporation going through the initiations, I was in 1990, I was the 7th initiator. Those were real at the time. And after that, because Harold was doing funny things, which he always was anyhow, it didn't matter, but I was to be there for that time. Rebazar gave me all the initiations up to the 14th that prepare me for 2001. I had to go through the process too, but they were real on the real side. And my friend, my former girlfriend, we were on Blue Sky Island having these experiences, and she was seeing this too, all these things. So just bypassed it altogether. It had nothing to do with the corporation. This is how people are mind framed into this one-dimensional area. This is a one-dimensional place. No matter what is here, it's just here. That's it. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It doesn't exist in the air. It just exists in your head as an idea. So yes, it's the fun part is that you are free to recognize whatever you want. It's that recognition, and that becomes your reality. And life itself, like I've said, everything equals itself. Okay? So if you set it up to where, Paul gave it 2 years, and I looked at this idea. And you have to set forth ideas. You really do. You have to give people some kind of literal definition because this is where they're at. So I figured, I didn't really say it, but I basically figured that, okay, that 2 years is too long. We don't have time. So as I created the first course, which was called the New Student Course, which I call now the True Course, but we just use that as an idea. I figured 1 year. Within that 1 year, a person should, with what I'm letting people know, should be able to wake up to some point to do something, to get on with this adventure. All right. And so I've created the other courses too because I see that people wanted them. They wanted to go through certain steps. But there are no limits. We're not, the courses and the books are available as references. I suggest people go through them. Yes, constantly get that reference. I did because for this side and to see what's going on into the world, to get a better understanding of things and listen to the recordings. And just like, as you're bringing through the questions here, Charles, which are very good, because the world needs some type of answer. But the answers that I'm giving and the references that I create are not absolute. Again, they're just references to kind of give us the idea. That's all. And when Val and Kelsey the other day were standing on the shore and the waves were rather violent, etc., I'm giving them an idea. It's like, okay, well, this is going to be fun for you guys. You'll figure it out, okay? And through the process, they will. And so in the meantime, it'll be funny. And as I jumped out in the water, I looked back and there they were on their backs almost because the wave had knocked them down. But, they'll get up and they got it. Now Kelsey's out there flopping around. She got past the break and she dives under the water and she's fine. And yesterday we were out there and she saw the dolphins. Yes. Yeah. So, and the water's about 70. It's nice. We were out there till dark. And it's just, that's a little bit of fun time we all get. So it's really cool. So, but yes, these things that go hand in hand, we're the big adventure, and there are no limits anymore. There are no restrictions, set forth restrictions. But we had to go through those, just like Chris, again, had to go through boot camp, which is a restriction, until finally they let him go. It's like, okay, soldier, go do your job. Whatever happens, deal with it, okay? And Chris would tell me that, when they had something new, because he was the tech guy, they would just give it to him. There was no instruction manual. It's like, figure it out. Here, soldier, figure this out. That's what they were teaching people. You figure out each situation. And that's what we're doing here. This is very real. And you can. And so as we get together in the groups here, this is why I do this all the time. See? Harry and Joni, they want a robotized system. They just want the income coming in. It's all about the money. Sell this, sell that, sell this, sell that. And they use the spiritual idea as their front. Yeah, that's the little worm on the hook. And the end result is you really get nothing. Oh, you get a little information, you get some experience. And you really do. Many people need that experience. They need to be drowned in it, like Claudia came from it. She was there. She was there in the days when I was there, from 70 when Paul was there, till here, and he went through Dunami for 6 years. But she needed all that. She needed all of that to finally recognize this. And so, yeah, what's so cool about what we're doing is that you have the free will and the right to recognize whatever you do and do something wonderful. Think about that. Not just take the knowledge and it's like, oh, look what I got. Oh, I can be smarter than Duane or whatever. I see these things. I see the arrogance. There's many people that have come and gone. They love their arrogance. They reach a certain point, and they don't see that if it wasn't for me and them getting what they do, that they wouldn't have it. I've seen many, and then they turn on you. It's like, well, I can do this and I don't need him. Well, it's not a matter of that, okay? But how is it that you will succeed with the whole of life? And the boys, they see these people till you stand real and we're all equal. So what they're really saying is that they've gotten the knowledge and they're actually better than me. They're just thinking, well, I don't need you. It's like a teenager thinking, I don't need my parents anymore. They were stupid enough to raise me. Well, I don't want to hang around these people. They're stupid. Okay, they're squares. It used to be the 60s thing. My parents are square. Well, actually, they're wonderful, and at a certain point, when you're 50 or 60, all of a sudden you realize how wonderful they are. And we all are equal now. We stand real with each other. That's the whole idea. So that recognition of standing real with the is, that's really up to you. It's not about initiations. It's not about a time factor. It's when you recognize the reality life is. And I've said this over and over many times and given references to it, but each person has free will, and will they take the risk to do it? Will they? Again, I was out in the business world. I had my own business. I did very well with my business. And I was telling Claudia yesterday, I did great with my business. I had no problems. Most of the 99% of my jobs, hey, everything was agreeable. Everything went fine. I just did my business. When I get into the so-called real business world here, the big banking business, and trying to get my instruments monetized, etc. for this, I have met the biggest liars, con artists, connivers, idiots, yeah, in the world, yeah, in the business world. I don't even know how things sticks together, because again, these people are so self-absorbed. It's not a criticism. I mean, these people are actually living their lives like this. And oh yeah, they've collected money. They've figured out how to collect money that controls them, etc. And they're the smart people that are destroying the system, destroying the world, actually. And they don't see it and try to relate that. Yeah, this is a huge challenge. And so everything comes from recognition, is what it comes from. And everybody has the right to recognize whatever they will. This is what's so cool about it. And so the reference, the Nupresentation that I'm providing, hey, where else do you see it or get it? It's not there. And the best part is, just like when Paul was here, it's the heart, intent, and the real connection. So anybody can create anything, just like the Way of Truth, which Vesna was in, and Dynami, which Claudia was in, and Varden Carr, and Scientology, and all these things, the big light of this and that, or whatever. Fine, that's fine. Go for it. But is life backing them? It doesn't take much to figure it out. It'll be shown. I remember I've had individuals in the past that came into this for a while, and then they kind of went to other things, and they even wrote their experiences to me. One fella, he wrote this experience where he was in this cave with all these spiders. And it's this other path that he had joined, but then I still didn't hear from him after that. And he was having the experience. But again, I don't know what he did with it. He had written me the experience. I've had many over the years. Many, many people have written experiences, but I don't talk about all of them. But again, I'm not here to prove this. I really can't prove it. Nobody can prove anything. It's we all decide to recognize each other and stand real, or we don't. That's just it. And getting people to do that, that's huge. Yes, so as we refer to these different ideas, which are just ideas, the fun part is to not relate to what others have created that is restricting and creates a demise, even though it sounds good. Really take a look at what you're presenting to the world, even with yourself or whatever. Is it just a sound good thing, to look good, etc.? Like the movie stars and the politicians do. They just create these scenarios so they all look cool. They hang out together at the finest restaurants. They spend money. etc. They all giggle, they have their parties and whatever. Yeah, just like parties at the White House. Is that important to you? It's not to me. What's important to me is finding that individual with a real and sincere true heart, because it takes a lot of lifetimes to temper an individual to recognize, who really they are and to have that real intent. Yeah. It takes a whole lot. I get it. I get it. I'm very considerate of people, and I have a great compassion, you might say, for that. I really sincerely do. And so again, we're not collecting members here. We want to see who steps up and has the courage to be real. So the new presentation actually use the word struggling. We're not struggling. We're not really struggling anything. Again, it's like the sun shining. The sun is not struggling. The sun just shines, but who really recognizes what the sun is demonstrating? You take a survey through the entire world. How many people recognize what the sun is demonstrating? Not what the sun is doing, but what it's demonstrating realistically. Of course, they don't have the recognition to that, because even when they do recognize what it's demonstrating, that's still not it. That is still not it. This is how awesome life is. And to be able to have a recognition, to stand real with the boys, to really truly do it, yeah, they're there. They're not going to live your life for you. And you can't drag them around and say, well, do this, do that for me. They're not saviors. They cannot save your life. There's no such thing. And they cannot grant you freedom. They cannot grant you anything. It's a recognition. They can provide an experience. Your dad can give you the keys to the car and you can get in the car, but you still got to drive it. And however you drive it, that's the outcome of your life. So if you crash it, you crash it, which you probably will. It's going to take a few times. So lucky us, we get the big adventure, and there are no limitations on recognizing this, but it takes courage to step up to recognize it. And again, everything equals itself. This is the most important part. You're not going to get what you don't give. You're not going to get it. You got to step up, and it's got to be for everyone, not just what you want. See, that's the corporation idea. See, they feed this idea into people. It's all about you. It's you. Me thing. Yes, your spiritual growth. You're this. Oh, it's so important. It's not about the whole of life. It's all about you, and that's the personal side that you've created. The little dummy. Yeah, it's all about the little dummy. The little dummy is to feel good and self-satisfied. Okay, and then you'll just keep being with the little dummy for who knows how long. Forever and ever and ever. Again, in other words, Harry's up there on stage. It's all about the little dummy. He's self-important. And it's almost doubtful he'll ever get out of creation. He's with the reptilians. He's in the darkest areas. How much darker can dark get? Okay, so again, that's where he is. Very, very real. And everything that he has provided will become nothing, simply because it has no benefit at all. It's just part of the trash. Because he's never become sincere and real and taken the risk. Yeah, that becomes the difference. It's amazing how life is. And it's really learning to see it, how it really is. Yeah, it's so cool. But there are people here, there are witnesses. I say this, for this to work, there has to be the witnesses. And this is why, many times I don't even have the experience. I just look to the as. Everything's out of the as. Everything's invisible. That's what I look to. I'm not interested in experiences, really. But I love to hear the experiences of others because they become the witness. Reinforces this. Just like that movie with Harrison Ford, Witness, with the Amish. Everyone was after the little witness. They wanted to shut him up. You people become the witnesses. You are the reality. I am simply the reference here. I'm just Duane. That's really what I am.